This scandal comes as no surprise.
And there's a very big difference. It was deliberate.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly bizarre.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample.
Could the perfect fairy tale of Meghan Markle actually be hiding a secret so profound, so meticulously buried, that it could unravel her entire public persona? We're diving deep into a bewildering missing year from her carefully curated timeline, a period her official narrative glosses over as simple college preparation, but which sealed records and hushed whispers from Chicago suggest conceals a far more intricate and dramatic truth. The Duchess we admire today, celebrated for her modern royalty and advocacy, may have once been a young teenager entangled in a clandestine event, an untold chapter that could redefine everything we thought we knew about her journey to the global stage.
Things just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
I do believe because there are no delivery.
The official story is impeccably crafted. Immaculate Heart High School graduate in 1994, a brief, self-reflective gap year, then Northwestern University in 1995, followed by a seemingly effortless ascent through college Hollywood, and finally royalty. It's a timeline so pristine, it feels almost too perfect, like a script written for a blockbuster. Yet, amidst this polished narrative, a glaring inconsistency emerges. Reports tied to obscure Chicago archives hint that within that supposedly quiet missing year, the fairy tale narrative might not just bend, but dramatically collapse. Instead of a carefree young woman embarking on enriching travels abroad, the whispers point to something far more sensational, an alleged hidden marriage in Las Vegas, an annulment filed under an impenetrable seal, and even the existence of a child, purportedly absorbed discreetly into another family. This isn't just the usual tabloid fodder. Commentators emphasize that if these records were truly inconsequential teenage missteps, why were they so aggressively locked away? Why the concerted effort to erase what should have been a simple, unremarkable chapter? This profound contradiction, this glaring gap between the public facade and the rumored reality, undeniably sets a chilling tone for the revelations that may yet surface.
So all of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy.
This isn't merely a story with minor inconsistencies. It's a royal brand, seemingly built upon a foundation riddled with inexplicable holes. Each one, as keen-eyed fans online have pointed out, large enough for a truly seismic truth to slip through. Insiders with alleged ties to the Giuliano family, the name most frequently whispered in connection with this hidden chapter, paint a vivid picture of a deeply private, traditional, and fiercely protective clan. Sources close to the situation suggest that their deeply ingrained values clashed almost immediately and violently with Meghan's burgeoning ambitions for higher education, a career in acting, and ultimately a life under the relentless glare of fame. This wasn't merely two teenagers navigating the awkward experiment of early adulthood. It was by all accounts the explosive collision of two fundamentally incompatible worlds. Social media users have drawn striking comparisons, likening it to the jarring image of a global superstar like Selena Gomez attempting to settle into a quiet, small-town domestic existence. The emotional and logistical math simply doesn't add up. Meghan craved the spotlight, the Giulianos yearned for profound silence, and that very pursuit of silence, many argue, provides the most compelling explanation for why the alleged annulment was sealed with such unusual secrecy, rather than simply dissolved like any other young, failed marriage. Startling reports suggest this wasn't an oversight, but a deliberate, calculated effort to bury something far more significant, an alleged pregnancy.
Grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant, so that Archie has someone.
By the scorching summer of 1995, the hushed whispers about Meghan Markle's alleged secret had grown too insistent, too widespread within certain circles, to be easily dismissed. The narrative gained traction. Word began to spread that a baby girl had been born and quietly welcomed into the Giuliano household. But in a stark departure from societal norms, there were no joyous birth announcements, no official adoption papers, no public registrations of any kind. Instead, every single detail, every step of this extraordinary event was reportedly handled with the utmost discretion and secrecy, meticulously orchestrated behind tightly closed doors. The sheer magnitude of this clandestine operation speaks volumes about the perceived need to keep this chapter entirely hidden from the public eye, hinting at the profound implications it might have held then and still holds now.
I think the palace and the machinery of the monarchy needs to take Harry and Meghan more seriously and make sure that Harry and Meghan's antics don't impact the future of the...
Commentators suggest
that single pivotal year, stretching from 1994 to 1995, has since transformed into a veritable black hole around which Meghan's entire public narrative now precariously orbits. There is a startling absence of any corroborating evidence, no study abroad paperwork, no casual photographs of adventurous overseas excursions, no verifiable school or travel records, nothing but an unnerving, impenetrable silence. Esteemed commentators on celebrity culture frequently caution that such profound silence within a public figure's timeline is rarely, if ever, neutral. It either meticulously hides a burgeoning scandal or cunningly manufactures a compelling myth. In Meghan's unique and complex case, it's entirely plausible that it accomplished both. Furthermore, the potential surfacing of those allegedly sealed annulment files in Las Vegas, if they ever were to see the light of day, could forge a direct, undeniable link to the very missing year that Chicago's rumor mill has tirelessly whispered about for decades. For a growing legion of fans, already deeply skeptical of Meghan's meticulously polished public image, this enigmatic gap year is no longer merely a blank space on a calendar. It has evolved into a gripping cliffhanger, setting the stage for potentially earth-shattering revelations that could fundamentally alter how her entire extraordinary rise to royalty is ultimately perceived and remembered. The profound silence surrounding Meghan Markle's missing year didn't just bewilder historians and biographers. It actively ignited an entire online subculture, a dedicated collective determined to meticulously fill in the tantalizing blanks. On countless Reddit threads devoted to royal gossip, fans have dissected the timeline with forensic precision, leaving no stone unturned. One viral post, cutting directly to the chase, bluntly posed the question, if Meghan truly traveled abroad in 1994, where precisely is the passport stamp to prove it? Another observant user pointed out the conspicuous absence of Meghan in any graduation trip photos shared by her Immaculate Heart classmates. These seemingly minor inconsistencies, when aggregated, coalesced into a veritable storm of insatiable curiosity, propelling the narrative into the digital age.
but a response to the contradictions Meghan herself created.
The fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up.
Reports suggest that if she had left behind even a scrap of documentation,
It's a stark truth of our digital age. Gaps in celebrity timelines don't repel attention. They function like powerful magnets, drawing intense scrutiny. And in Meghan Markle's case, that magnetic pull has proven unusually potent, transforming the simple question of where was she into the far more intriguing and dangerous, what was she hiding? This fervent fan speculation quickly intertwined with the very fabric of cultural memory. In Chicago, particularly within its tight-knit Italian-American circles, where the Giuliano family was quietly known, neighbors began to recall seeing a little girl at various family cookouts and gatherings who, in hindsight, didn't quite seem to fit the established family narrative. According to one local interview, painstakingly archived by diligent bloggers, this child was simply introduced as family, never with a full, comprehensive explanation of her parentage. While to casual observers, this might have seemed ordinary at the time, retrospective analysis has since raised numerous red flags. Online fans have drawn compelling parallels to Britney Spears' own secret Las Vegas annulment in 2004, a moment handled with such astonishing swiftness that most people barely registered its occurrence until years later. The crucial distinction, as critics are quick to point out, is that Britney's annulment swiftly became public record, whereas Meghan's has remained stubbornly sealed, shrouded in secrecy. Reports suggest that this very secrecy is precisely what has kept the whispers alive, allowing them to morph and grow louder instead of fading away, attaching themselves like insidious tendrils to every perceived gap in Meghan's carefully constructed narrative. By the late 2000s, as Meghan's star ascended from a successful actress on *Suits* to the global phenomenon that is the Duchess of Sussex, the speculation took on a viral, almost unstoppable edge. TikTok edits began juxtaposing photos of Meghan at Northwestern in 1995 against timelines of alleged Giuliano family gatherings in Chicago, creating a jarring visual narrative. One trending sound layered the ominous words "gap year" over a ticking clock, powerfully symbolizing the perceived notion of time running out on these hidden truths. For many fans, this wasn't merely conspiracy for conspiracy's sake. It was a deeply felt quest for answers, driven by an unwavering sense that something significant was being deliberately withheld. Had there been any verifiable proof, a student exchange program, itinerary, a legitimate work visa, even a simple, authentic travel photograph, the narrative of a mysterious missing year might have easily collapsed. But in its profound and enduring absence, this blank canvas became fertile ground for an entire generation of relentless speculation. Commentators now frequently warn that in the hyper-transparent influencer era, silence doesn't offer protection. It ruthlessly exposes, and Meghan's prolonged silence, particularly concerning this crucial period, has begun to look less like a desire for privacy and more like a deliberate, calculated act of concealment. The persistent whispers surrounding Meghan Markle's missing year have consistently circled back to one pivotal name, Joe Giuliano. He was, by all accounts, not a figure from the glitzy world of Hollywood, nor was he actively chasing the relentless glare of the spotlight. Sources describe him as a grounded, profoundly family-focused individual, embodying the old-world Italian-American values of tradition and discretion. According to reports allegedly tied to his family, those deeply held values collided with Meghan's burgeoning ambitions with explosive force. In their traditional world, marriage was paramount, children were unequivocally raised within the sanctity of the home, and any problems or personal matters were never, under any circumstances, broadcast to outsiders. Meghan, conversely, yearned for unbridled freedom, college, a career in acting, and a life explicitly built for the public eye. Commentators suggest this cultural clash wasn't merely inconvenient. It was in essence combustible. Out of that powerful collision emerged the most explosive claim that by mid-1995, Meghan was allegedly pregnant, and a baby girl was quietly born in Chicago. Accounts purportedly connected to Giuliano relatives describe an elaborate family arrangement designed to meticulously erase Meghan's name from the story, while simultaneously protecting the innocent child. Reports suggest the Giulianos raised the girl as one of their own, never filing official adoption papers, never publicly acknowledging her true parentage. Instead, neighbors remembered her consistent presence at family barbecues, birthday celebrations, and holiday gatherings, introduced only as family. One relative, quoted by a Chicago-based blogger, allegedly let slip a candid 7-word confession in a private moment: "She was Meghan's before she was ours." These 7 words, whispered in confidence, carried the immense weight of an entire potential scandal. Fans online have drawn striking comparisons between this revelation and the decades-long rumors surrounding Janet Jackson's alleged secret daughter, a story that was simultaneously half denied and half believed. The parallel, many argue, is far from accidental. Commentators speculate that, much like Janet, Meghan's missing year could be concealing more than just a blank timeline. It could be hiding a living, breathing reminder of choices she could never publicly admit. The annulment documents themselves only serve to add further fuel to this already raging fire. While teenage marriages that falter are typically dissolved through ordinary court filings, Meghan's alleged annulment was sealed, an unusually drastic and secretive step for what should have been a routine case. Reports suggest the sealing was not merely to protect minors, but to shield details deemed far too disruptive to her meticulously planned future. Media critics are quick to point out that this unusual sealing aligns suspiciously well with the alleged timeline of the child's birth. If there was truly nothing to hide, why go to such extraordinary lengths to lock the paperwork away? And why has absolutely no trace of that annulment ever surfaced in the decades since? For fans meticulously dissecting Meghan's carefully curated public image, this wasn't just a red flag, it was, in their eyes, a smoking gun. And it leaves one unavoidable, chilling question hanging provocatively in the air. If the Giulianos indeed raised a child, and Meghan walked away to reinvent herself at Northwestern, what happens if that child one day decides to step forward? As Meghan Markle dramatically transitioned from a successful actress to the global phenomenon that is the Duchess of Sussex, the persistent whispers she purportedly left behind in Chicago didn't simply vanish. They evolved, gaining a new, more dangerous resonance. Commentators vividly recall how the relentless British press combed through every conceivable detail of her past, desperately searching for any discernible cracks in her meticulously crafted fairy tale narrative. Yet, the one-year gap between her high school graduation and her enrollment at Northwestern University remained conspicuously untouched, a blank page that no one dared to print. Fans online vehemently argue that this wasn't mere oversight, it was, in their view, a highly orchestrated act of deliberate omission. One viral TikTok claimed with powerful conviction, "The silence around Meghan's gap year is louder than any scandal she's ever denied." And as her high-profile marriage to Prince Harry transformed her into global royalty, the inherent risk of those whispers finally reaching daylight became infinitely more perilous. Reports suggest that palace aides worked tirelessly, often overtime, to meticulously defend her image, vetting biographies and press profiles with forensic levels of control. Still, silence, no matter how carefully constructed, has its inherent limits. And in our unforgiving digital age, those limits invariably break. The cultural reaction to even the possibility of a hidden child would be nothing short of seismic. Fans online are already passionately debating whether Meghan's carefully curated public persona can withstand yet another profound credibility crisis. Comparisons to past royal scandals are ubiquitous, ranging from Princess Diana's deeply personal taped confessions to Prince Andrew's catastrophic and career-ending interview. But commentators warn that this situation would be fundamentally different. This wouldn't just be about optics or questionable choices. It would directly call into question Meghan's very honesty about her own identity. If a Chicago daughter truly exists, raised entirely outside her public story, the narrative of the outsider who bravely conquered tradition collapses instantly and irrevocably. Media critics are quick to point out the searing irony. Meghan built her global brand on a foundation of transparency, vulnerability, and the powerful act of telling her truth. To then discover a hidden chapter of this immense significance would invert that core message into outright hypocrisy. Fans on X, formerly Twitter, have joked grimly. Oprah asked, "Were you silent or silenced?" Turns out Meghan was both. The institutional consequences loom even larger. Reports suggest that studios considering Meghan and Harry's lucrative joint production deals have already grown noticeably cautious, particularly after several previous projects reportedly underperformed. A scandal of this unprecedented magnitude could undoubtedly give corporate boards cold feet, leading to significant financial repercussions. Commentators speculate that streaming platforms, already highly sensitive to reputational risk after a string of high-profile cancellations, might quietly shelve potential projects rather than gamble on the inevitable typhoon of controversy. Meanwhile, cultural analysts warn of a broader and potentially devastating financial fallout. The Sussex brand, once valued in the hundreds of millions through deals with Netflix, Spotify, and Penguin Random House, could face irreversible and catastrophic damage. If Meghan's credibility cracks, the very foundation of brand Sussex collapses entirely. And insiders suggest the repercussions would not stop there. Questions could powerfully ricochet back toward the palace itself. What did they truly know, and precisely when did they know it? This potential chain reaction, spiraling from Chicago whispers to the hallowed corridors of Buckingham Palace, is precisely why critics are labeling this not just a scandal in waiting, but a ticking time bomb. The question haunting every corner of this intricate story is chillingly simple. What happens if silence finally breaks? Imagine the sheer cultural earthquake if a woman in her late 20s suddenly stepped forward, claiming not just a bloodline, but a birthright that could rewrite royal history. Commentators suggest it would instantly overshadow every royal interview, every palace statement, every single Hollywood project Meghan has ever touched. Fans are already speculating wildly about the inevitable headlines. Hidden heir in Chicago. Meghan's missing year revealed. And in an age where a single viral TikTok can launch a global movement overnight, it wouldn't take much more than a single photograph, a single compelling document, or a single public word from that alleged daughter to ignite an unstoppable storm. Reports indicate that even the mere possibility has insiders profoundly nervous. Because if true, this wouldn't just be a scandal, it would be a complete and utter collapse of narrative, an unraveling 3 decades in the making.